Hello, my name is Russell Griffin. Currently, I'm a senior at Texas A&M Commerce, enrolled in the Bachelor of Applied Arts and Sciences Organizational Leadership Program. The purpose of this video will be for me to orally and visually display my leadership journey, past, present, and predicted future. Included in this video will be a comprehensive and detailed depiction of my thoughts, understandings, and experiences with leadership. In part 1, I will reflect on my knowledge prior to starting the program. How would I describe myself as a leader? My comprehension of leadership. What is it, or at least what I thought it was? For part 2, I will discuss my experiences with individual courses within the program. What did I learn? How has this information benefited me? Has this newfound knowledge changed my perception of leadership? Third, I will be going over my current leadership abilities. Who am I now? How has this program taken me to new levels? Lastly, I will touch on my next steps. Where do I go from here? How will I continue my leadership journey? Am I ready for this ever-changing business world? When I started this program, my understanding of leadership as a formal study was minimal. I had never taken any courses regarding leadership theory or read any books specifically tailored to organizational structure. I had taken many business courses and seminars, but most were regarding current areas of focus that I had at the time. Prior to starting the program, I had been running my own business for over 10 years. The company was called Get It Done Printing. I was the sole owner and had a staff of 12 people. My leadership abilities then were purely from trial and error. My style was generally crafted from my understanding of people and circumstances of the past. If something worked, I did more of that. But if it didn't work, I stopped doing whatever that was. I didn't truly have an understanding of when and why I should use a certain tactic or strategy. I really just tried things. One area I think really helped me as a leader was my interest in the study of people. I have always felt that people are complex in their reasoning and why they are who they are and do what they do. I felt like individuals should be understood prior to negotiating against or partnering with. If I can understand a person's thinking, motives, and objectives, it will be much easier for me to receive the outcome I am looking to achieve. Another key value that I believe has helped me in the past arises from a previous statement, which is the word partner. For me, regardless if a person is at the same level as me, below me, or above me, I think of them as a partner. They deserve respect and consideration of all my decisions. In the past, I have routinely been able to rally support and motivate others to see my vision. I think this is a direct result of my communication skills and ability to understand the person in front of me. This is one area in my leadership journey that I can point to and say, I still believe strongly in, even as I am nearing the end of this program. I believe that my understanding of people, along with the knowledge I have gained since entering this program, will allow me to be much more calculated and strategic in my future leadership undertakings. Issues in organizational leadership provided me with a basic overview and foundation for organizational leadership. Some of the things I learned in this course were the different types of leadership theories and models, such as transformational and situational leadership. I also learned about Fiedler's contingency theory, which shows the relationship between a leader's style and group performance. This course also covered early research studies of leadership, where I learned about trait and behavior theory. Each theory, respectively, was thought to be the main contributing factor to effective leadership. But after being heavily explored, neither was able to prove that they were the determining cause of effective leadership. My culminating project for this course was to create a personal leadership strategy. This project allowed me to really gain perspective of my strengths and weaknesses. It put me in a state of mind to think strategically and intentionally about who I am today versus who I would like to be in the future. By writing down my thoughts and crafting them into a comprehensive plan, I was forced to be honest with myself regarding my shortcomings and was able to map out the necessary changes needed for a successful future. Data-driven decision-making was a two-term course focusing on organizational use of data in decision-making. What I learned in this course was how to use data analysis tools and resources for crunching numbers, the benefits of using data for decision-making, and the various disciplines used for its application. This course went over more than just the basics of using data though. It also touched on how, when, and what data should be used. I learned that all data is not created equal. An organization must know the outcome they are trying to achieve before they can know what data should be used. The outcome determines the data. The culminating project for this course was to analyze large amounts of company sales data from over a period of 2 years. With this data, I was to look for trends and clues that could aid in decision making for the company. I used this information to gain an understanding of the organization's market share, influence, customer base, top selling products, and areas of improvement. When I first opened this raw data, nothing really made sense to me. It looked as if it was just a bunch of numbers in an Excel spreadsheet. But as I learned and progressed through the course, I realized, yes, they are numbers, but put in the right context, they can lead to increased revenue. Once properly structured, I was able to identify new avenues of exploration, areas of waste, what has been working for the company, and what has not been. This course really gave me insight regarding the power of data and its proper use for decision making. In behavior ethics and leadership, we went over ethics in the workplace and the leader's role in promoting organizational behavior. We learned about topics such as intrinsic and extrinsic motivations, which are the reasons why we do things and what drives our behaviors. In part 2 of the course, we learned about the commitment model, which states that commitment develops when people feel they are a meaningful part of something they care about. Another topic I learned about was the Vroom expectancy theory. According to this theory, behaviors result from conscious choices among alternatives whose purpose it is to maximize pleasure and minimize pain. In this course for my culminating project, I was tasked with researching and writing a paper about the Ford Pinto controversy. This paper was appropriate for an ethics course because it brought about an important question regarding moral and ethical responsibilities to the public. Ford had a design flaw in its Pinto model that greatly increased the probability of the car exploding upon impact from the rear. The company knew about this flaw, but due to time constraints and a desire to keep the vehicle's production costs down, they decided to ignore the warnings and put the car on the market anyway. This proved to be a big mistake as there were many injuries, loss of life, lawsuits, and recalls. This case showed me that money and objectives should never be the only consideration when making organizational decisions. If Ford would have taken note of the flaw and fixed it, they would have saved themselves from a lot of headache, embarrassment, loss of funds, and most important, the lives of the people killed by their deliberate inaction. Leadership theory was an interesting course to me. Because I was a self-taught entrepreneur, I never really had the chance to learn corporate leadership planning and assessment. I learned in this course how to analyze challenges and address issues. The course focused on effective planning and approaches to problems, as well as controlling situations. I had 2 culminating projects for leadership theory. My first one was to conduct a SWOT analysis. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Prior to taking this course, I don't believe I had even ever heard of a SWOT analysis before. But after doing this project, I can't see how I would ever be able to do without one. The knowledge gained from a SWOT analysis can really help an organization in preparing for the future. My second project was to create a process improvement plan. I have created processes in the past, but never with this amount of detail. With this project, I had to set up process boundaries, which is basically the scope of the project, a process configuration, which is how the new process will flow, as well as process metrics and measurements with acceptable mean values, upper and lower control limits, and targets for improved performance. What I learned from doing this project was that a process's effectiveness should be measured and backed up by metrics. In the past, I would implement changes based on what I felt was right. This project showed me that effective processes should be proven to be effective by analyzing and recording the results. Leading Change was one of my most recent courses. In this course, I learned about the different aspects of change, the effects of change on organizational culture, as well as the different types of change, such as sequential or complex. Sequential change is when a large change is implemented over a relatively long period of time in a step-by-step manner. Complex change is when a major change is put in place within a short period of time. This is usually done when the change is very important or urgent. I enjoyed this course because it helped me to understand my current employer and why different organizations use different tactics. The use of centralized structure versus decentralized really caught my attention, as I thought its use was strictly due to the organization's selected style. But I have learned its use is less of a choice and more of a strategic approach that is determined by the organization's market and technological relatedness. For the life of me, I could never understand why my current employer was so centralized, but it all makes sense now. The company has the same customers, distribution, pricing, manufacturing, and processes. According to the book Making Strategy Work, those attributes make my company the perfect candidate for a centralized top-down structure. Capstone, I must say, was definitely the toughest and most interactive course I have taken in this program. I learned and relearned a lot, but it took a lot of time and effort to complete. This course pretty much brought together the entire program as a whole and made sure we were knowledgeable about organizational leadership before graduating. With this two-term course, I was required to complete 4 different projects. For Capstone 1, my first project was to conduct 2 separate interviews with high-level leaders of different industries and write an integrated summary analysis. When I first read this assignment, it gave me heartburn, mainly because the course work was unexpected. I had never been required to get outside assistance before on a project, and logistically, at the time, it seemed impossible to get it done in a timely fashion. I had another course I was working on and needed to add 1 more, all within a 7-week span. But you never know what is possible until you're challenged to do so. I got a lot out of this project in terms of understanding leadership practices in the real world as opposed to theory. Many of the responses that the leaders gave me corresponded to knowledge I have gained from prior courses. What was different was their responses were their experiences, so I could ask follow-up questions to gain a better perspective of how and why they do what they do. For my second project, I had to select one of the leaders' companies and produce a strategic case analysis. In doing this project, I was able to use my newly developed research and analysis skills to determine the strengths and weaknesses of my chosen organization. I had to look at multiple aspects of the company, such as its leadership, organizational strategy, culture, external factors, and processes. After conducting the analysis, I was to come up with some recommendations that I felt would benefit the company. My Capstone 2 projects are currently works in process. My first project is yours truly, this video presentation. I can't even lie. After Capstone 1, I was prepared for anything. I wasn't expecting the video, but I do understand why this will be included in the final course and have no problem with it. This presentation, as stated earlier, is an overview of my leadership journey, who I was as a leader at the start of the program, knowledge gained from the program, me as a leader currently, and where do I go from here. My last and final project will be for me to develop my professional profile using ePortfolio. For this assignment, I will be uploading all current and past projects as well as completing my profile, which includes a biography, academic information, my involvements, and employment. Completing this project will help me display my work that I have done throughout the program while at the same time showing my ability to produce quality work and my focus on professionalism. I would say my current style of leadership is more of an expansion of my previous style versus a complete change. I am still very situational in my approaches and value communication as these things have and continue to help me in my leadership practice. I am now much more strategic in how I approach different issues though. I currently follow a process for decision making and rely on data and metrics to gauge effectiveness much more than I have in the past. I now have an understanding that I cannot approach every situation the same, and the strategy used by an organization should be determined by the goals and structure of the organization. Also, I now understand that I cannot be rigid in my leadership style. Sometimes being democratic is most appropriate, and others may call for more autocratic behaviors. As a leader now, my actions are purely dependent on the circumstances. The knowledge I have gained from this program has led me to realize that being a leader is doing what is best for my followers and the organization. My actions should not be solely based on how I feel, but what is appropriate. I am actually very enthusiastic and hopeful about my future. I am currently working for a fairly large company and on a track for leadership. I am still kind of in a place of uncertainty regarding what I want to do with the rest of my life, but I am working on it. As I mentioned earlier, for most of my adult life, I ran businesses. Being in the corporate world is very different because of the multiple layers of leadership and bureaucracy that comes along with it. I'm used to doing things because they make sense and negotiating directly with the clients and vendors. One benefit I can say of working for a corporation, though, is that you're never alone and you can lean on others. I did not have this luxury when I owned my own business. Everything just kind of fell on me. If I decide to stay in the corporate world, I will work on moving up in my current company and continue my education by getting an MBA. After completing the organizational leadership program, I plan on doing some self-reflection by asking myself the following questions. What do I really want out of life? How can I best help and serve others? I, of course, would like to make a lot of money, but I have come to realize that life is about balance, and too much of anything can be toxic. So, as I enter this next stage of my life, I would like to be calculated and measured in my journey. No longer will I be mindlessly making decisions and drifting along with the masses. My plan is to live life to the fullest. I would like to take this time to thank all of the staff and professors who have helped me throughout this program and let you know that all of your efforts are greatly appreciated. And I would do everything all over again if I had to. I am very happy I chose this school and very happy I chose this program. Thank you.